always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to a program I simply call Symptoms. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. Lewis Thomas, in Lives of a Cell, published by Viking Press, wrote, "The great secret known to internists, but still hidden from the general public, is that most things get better by themselves. Most things, in fact, are better by morning." Unquote. That has sometimes been the case with many illnesses. Until recently. We have some bad bugs making the rounds. H1N1 is still giving us quite a scare. And there is always the potential for bird flu looming on the horizon. For a time, Michael Jackson appeared in public wearing a surgical mask. Then we thought it was weird. Recently, it almost became a necessity. I titled this hour Symptoms, and a few possible cures for love sickness at the end of the hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You, and Harry Chapin with Cats in the Cradle. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Every year around this time, I seem to be fighting off all kinds of bugs. My voice always seems to be the hardest hit. Following my son's hockey team to arenas all over certainly doesn't help. But the hand sanitizer stations set up in them do help. It's a clear example of how seriously we take some of these viruses. Some of them are not that much different than the ones that have plagued mankind through the ages. Occasionally, though, a new one arrives on the scene that can be a cause for tremendous concern. We may not be able to cure a virus like the common cold, but we can sometimes prescribe something to alleviate the symptoms. And it's not always a bitter pill to swallow. This hour to begin, some thoughts from the medical community about faith. And then a cure for a common malady that has affected almost all of us at one time or another. Love sickness. Patch Adams, M.D., from House Calls, published by Robert D. Reed Publishers, wrote, and I quote, "Faith can have a profound impact on health. It is a very personal experience of thought and surrender, which can comfort in every situation. Faith is free and available to all people at all times. It requires only that one fully embrace possibility, and the ultimate value is in the depth of the embrace." Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Elton John, Someone Saved My Life Tonight, and Rod Stewart with Faith of the Heart. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. John Marks Templeton, quoted by Gary Wolfe in Wired, said, "3 of my children are medical doctors. They know 100 times as much about the body as my grandfather knew. but they don't know much more about the soul than he did. If spiritual leaders would use scientific research, there is no reason we couldn't multiply spiritual information as we have scientific information. Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Coldplay with Clocks and the Fray and How to Save a Life. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Jim Stovall from You Don't Have to Be Blind to See, published by Nelson, wrote, and I quote, "I've seen people recover physical abilities, yet never get over emotional trauma after a serious accident. I've seen other people overcome the psychological and emotional trauma of a serious illness, even though they may never fully regain their physical capabilities. Which is the greater healing? Which is the better recovery? If I had the option of choosing between a mediocre life with eyesight or the life I have today, even though I am blind, I'd stay blind and keep the life I have." Jim Stovall from You Don't Have to Be Blind to See, published by Nelson. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Ladies and Lovers in a Dangerous Time, Goo Goo Dolls with Iris and Cat Stevens and Moonshadow. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. There are some afflictions that time can only heal, and it can be years before we are ever free of their effects. I'm thinking about something that has some very clear, identifiable symptoms. In fact, Robert Graves wrote a poem called Symptoms of Love. Love is a universal migraine, a bright stain on the vision, blotting out reason. Symptoms of true love are leanness, jealousy, laggard dawns, are omens and nightmares, listening for a knock, waiting for a sign, for a touch of her fingers in a darkened room, for a searching look. Take courage, lover. Can you endure such grief at any hand but hers? Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Joni Mitchell and Help Me and Alicia Keys, Fallin. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Robert Burton wrote, "But the symptoms of the mind in lovers are almost infinite and so diverse that no art can comprehend them. Though they be merry sometimes and rapt beyond themselves for joy, yet most part, love is a plague, a torture, a bittersweet passion at last. Like a summer fly, or sphinx's wings, or a rainbow of all colors, fair, foul, full of variation, though most part irksome and bad. The words of Robert Burton. Maybe that's why they call it a sickness, love sickness. Sounds like Burton knew the sickness well. But there is a cure. And that cure is to love more. The Persian poet Rumi wrote, "Through love, bitter things taste sweet. Through love, pains become as healing balms. Through love, thorns turn into roses. Through love, vinegar becomes sweet wines. Through love, hard stones turn soft like butter. Through love, soft wax becomes hard iron. Through love, grief has the flavor of joy. Through love, stings are like honey. Through love, lions are harmless as mice. Through love, sickness is health. Through love, the dead come to life. Through love, the king is humble as a slave. The Power of Love by Rumi. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I'm Don Jackson. I hope you will tell all your friends about Lovers and Other Strangers. Good night. Sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.